لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لم تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص. وإذ قال موسى لقومه يا قوم لم تؤذونني وقد تعلمون أني رسول الله إليكم فلما زاغوا أزاغ الله قلوبهم والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. وإذ قال عيسى ابن مريم يا بني إسرائيل إني رسول الله إليكم مصدقا لما بين يدي من التوراة ومبشرا برسول يأتي من بعد اسمه أحمد فلما جاءهم بالبينات قالوا هذا سحر مبين. ومن أظلم ممن افترى على الله الكذب وهو يدعى إلى الإسلام والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار على رسول الله وآله الأطهار. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Sorry, brothers and sisters, before I ask the Maulana, if you're near the door, please come to the center. Inshallah, as people will come later, we'll have this disturbance. Now with the loud salawat, let's invite Maulana.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وآله الخلائق أجمعين وصلى الله على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الإمام الصادق عليه السلام: نحن أصل كل خير ومن فروعنا كل بر فمن البر التوحيد والصلاة والصيام وقضاء الغيظ والعفو عن المسيء ورحمة الفقير وتعهد الجار والإقرار بالفضل لأهله. Recite the salawat. From the beginning of time, there has been a clash between two cultures, divine culture and satanic culture. Even before Prophet Adam came to this world, there was a very superior form of culture where there was no pain, there was no hardship, there was no hot or cold weather, there was life was very, very comfortable. No anguish, no stress. Adam and Hawa alayhi salam were living with tranquility. And Allah said, do not get close to this tree which represented this dunya, which is full of pain. Whatever led them to taste the fruit of that tree in that garden led to them coming to this world. And Iblis was the primary agent which caused this problem for them, between this couple, you see. Then, as they came to this world, Iblis created discord. And when I say Iblis and then Shayateen, their children and grandchildren, they are multiplying. Satan is not one, it's a whole hierarchy of Shayateen. As I mentioned last night, the initial clash was between the apparent material and apparent, fame, apparent, some kind of privilege that people, by their wahm, by their own imagination, associated with greatness and superiority. Someone looked like this, someone is taller, someone is older, someone is, has more wealth or possessions, is respected more. So that, on the other hand, Adam alayhi salam was promoting the qualities that there should be character, honesty, integrity, there should be truthfulness, loyalty, right? Sincerity. On the other hand, it was on the Iblis, Shayateen, they promoted something else. Power, right? Fortune, fame, all of those things. Don't we see a lot of that still? The same thing? We haven't really moved very far. And people who are deceived by these things now, by the glamour of material things, they haven't learned anything from the Quran. Which, like I explained last night, that Prophet Nuh came and destroyed that culture of shaitan. Destroyed, which had engulfed this world. Everyone except for the few followers of Nuh alayhi salam, for 950 years he preached, tried to save people from the influence of Zawahir Maddi, material manifestations that shaitan was constantly promoting. But he could only save, let's say that for 950 years, he had 8 followers. Some said 12 followers. So if you divide up the 900 years with, let's say, okay, for every century you got 1 follower. That's how strong the effect of materialism is on our minds. To save 1 person, it takes sometimes the effort of a Nabi of Allah for 100 years to save 1 person from the influence of matter, material things, material pleasures. Something that associates with greatness. It could be the dress you wear, it could be color of your skin, it could be ring on your hand, a shoe, anything. I am better than this other person next to me, right? It's narrated in the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He was sitting with his companions in the masjid, and so this black slave came in. Either black slave or a very poor person, he's wearing rags basically. So he came and sat in this circle. The person next to him suddenly collected his clothes, pulled his clothes so he would like not touch that person's clothes. The Holy Prophet noticed this action, looked at him. Do you fear that his poverty will come to you? He said, no. The Holy Prophet said, do you think your clothes will become dirty because of his clothes? He said, no, Ya Rasulullah. He says, is there something else you fear that would come from him to you? He said no. Probably he had nothing better to say. He said no. So the Prophet said, then why did you act like this to another human being? So he had nothing to say. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, because of this sin I have done, I will give half of my wealth to this person. So the Prophet turned to this person, right? This other poor man, and asked him like what his response was. So he said, I will not accept it. He said, why? He said, because I don't want to be contaminated with this disease of pride and arrogance. I'm superior in some way to another human being, you know. This is in the human condition you will find this problem a lot. From that time till today, something of material nature has a stronger appeal than perhaps knowledge or piety or spiritual values. Character is not even noticed sometimes, but these things are noticed more. Opinions are taken more seriously if this person who is speaking, you know, is from that privileged class somehow, or seen as privileged in material sense only. So that was then, and it continued. Noah alayhi salam came and destroyed that culture of shaitan. Then the next thing that came, as mentioned earlier, that the new thing that shaitan used was power. That continued, especially after Namrud came to power. And how many children he killed, because he was also told some prophecy that someone will come and destroy our kingdom. Same thing is said about Fir'aun also in history. He killed thousands of boys, newborns. Fir'aun also did the same thing over there in Egypt. And I'm not going to repeat anything for you. So, power. And Ibrahim alayhi salam came with his logic and all the things that happened. In the end, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. And that showed the real power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he challenged, Namrud challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah sent an army of mosquitoes, and his army was destroyed. So when that happened, people saw that Ibrahim is right, Namrud is wrong. But Ibrahim did not want to enter in a conflict with the community. So he was not allowed to continue to live in the city either. So he moved out of that area. And he was not allowed to live in any of the major cities actually. So Ibrahim opened a small place between cities where there were a lot of travelers, and started serving the travelers. But the action of Ibrahim and that incident of the fire had spread. The news had spread all over the world, all the way up to Athens in Europe and other parts of the world. Everywhere you see the influence of that in the writings of the philosophers over there and other things. So Lut alayhi salam promised Saydun, they sent someone asking for a muballigh. So Ibrahim alayhi salam sent his nephew Lut alayhi salam over there. Again, the stories in Old Testament as well as Quran. Lut alayhi salam went to this valley. I think I made a reference briefly. People were involved in sins, akhlaqi, fasad, sexual, perversion. So that Lut alayhi salam tried his best, could not make any impact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to send his wrath. Ibrahim is coming in the middle, asking Allah to give them a chance. Quran mentions, see the patience of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And in the end, Lut alayhi salam had to be rescued from that place. The Old Testament has mention of that the whole valley was up in flames. Fire was blazing like a furnace out of that valley, Sodom. That's how Old Testament mentions it. Even more graphically than Quran. Why Quran mentions that? And continues to mention the issue of Lut and Qawm Lut and homosexuality, all those things. Why? Because the danger is so great. That diseases of this nature have a tendency to spread worldwide in days, like wildfire. That's why Quran gives warnings of this nature again and again and again, that people should protect themselves, protect their behavior. That's why the institution of marriage is so important in Islam. And all the dress and our eyes and the speech. The issue of haya in Islam is so important. Haya, that the modesty, how you speak, how Quran speaks about sensitive subjects. You will see. Speaks about how men and women should speak to each other, and other things. I don't want to go into too much detail. So that also continued, and gradually they saw, the time of so the qudrat, the issue of power. Ibrahim destroyed that act of shaitan, that culture of power. Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Ulul Azm Anbiya, I mentioned ayat last night, that mentioned the 5 major prophets of Allah. Each destroyed the culture of Iblis. And then Iblis got to work again, introducing a new method of destroying the divine culture on earth. The third thing that Iblis tried to do again, he said, power alone is not working. Let me try something else. This is imagination. And tricks and sorcery and magic and those things. And political trickery, deceit. That culture in which you lie and you win an election, false promises, fake things, propaganda, those things. That was, Fir'aun was the expert in all those things. And he was very smart in a worldly sense, very smart person. And, Musa alayhi salam was given by Allah. Allah gave him, Musa, you throw that stick, and that stick turns into a serpent. And then Musa, take your hand out of your pocket. Again, his hand starts glowing. Go, these are 2 signs to them. So they had magicians who were showing tricks. They play with your mind, they act very fast, swiftly, so people don't notice how something is. Suddenly they take out a long cloth out of their hand, or they open their hat and something, a rabbit comes out of that. These are different things. You know why? They play with your imagination, the way you look at things, you distract your attention. And some other things, some magic is also involved. Now as those magicians came, Musa alayhi salam, so there's a contest held. A lot of people were brought to witness this scene. Fir'aun said, bring the best. Like the most upgraded version of the magic and tricks available. Bring all of that out to show this sort of strength, Musa's serpent, he swallowed everything they brought. And those magicians, they saw this is not magic. He's not playing with our eyes. Musa alayhi salam is not playing with our imagination. This is real. What is happening is real. This wood has turned into a snake. This hand is actually turned, its nature has changed into something else. So they believe this is a superior reality of some other form. So they fell down in prostration. Fir'aun doesn't have the patience to tolerate something like that. He said, you must have conspired between you, and how could you embrace this new faith without my permission? And look at his words. How could you accept the faith of Musa without my permission? So then he kills them by torturing them, cutting off their hands and legs and all of that, and putting them on the tree, crucifying them in a way. And that continued. Every time Shaitan brings his culture, destroys, removes the values, moral values in the society, right? Allah will send a major prophet to remove all the signs and manifestation of Shaitan. Please cite a salawat. As you know, in the time of Jesus, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, science was used, okay? Medicine and all of those things. When Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, he would put his hand on a blind, he would start eyesight, he would get back his eyesight, right? He would bring a dead person back to life. What kind of medicine can do that? Then they said, okay, well, there was probably still life in this person, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, take a piece of clay and turn that into an animal. وَإِذْ تَخْلُقُ مِنَ الطِّينِ كَهَيْئَةِ الطَّيْرِ فَتَنْفُخُ فِيهِ فَتَكُونَ طَيْرًا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Okay, he picked up a piece of clay, right, and turned it into looking like a bird. Yeah? And then it blow into this. With the izn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this clay turns into a bird and flies from his hand. What kind of science can do that? There is no science that can make that happen. I mean, in a broader sense, somebody can call it a science, but it's divine. Whatever it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it happen. So you see, what was Isa trying to do? The Shaitan was using different tricks in the time of Isa. And one, he was corrupting the religious class. He had taken the soul away from religion. Religion had become a weapon in the hands of powerful people to oppress the people. And then in the name of religion, rabbis were involved in that. The whole system of hierarchy of priesthood was involved in all of this. We see all of that. All of these things, you see, these are all manifestations of Iblis over history that you will find in Quran. If any of us is still influenced by any of these things, material power and wealth and media and all of these different fancy things, right? If we still find that we are under the influence of any of these things, well then we are not really using our Quran for guidance. We're not looking for the medicine, it's right there. And these verses of Quran have been explained by Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wasalam. Please say salawat. If you look at the time of Yazid, before Yazid came to power, 2 years before that, Muawiyah a year before he died, Muawiyah, at the height of his oppression. Now it's about time he's starting to force and pressure the people to accept Yazid as his. He had been doing it, but now it's become more and more obvious. Imam Hussain alayhi salam came to Hajj that year, 2 years before Muawiyah passed away. He came to Hajj, and with Abdullah ibn Jafar and Abdullah ibn Abbas and some Bani Hashim and some of his followers. He came from Medina to Mecca. And Imam Hussain had performed many Hajj on foot. That was another time he had come. And he asked these people with him, Abdullah Abbas and these Bani Hashim and some of the Ashab who had come with him from Medina and other supporters and followers he said, go around, look for all the remaining and surviving Sahaba of Rasulullah who is still alive and attending Hajj this year. All the tabi'een of so there's a generation of Sahaba and a generation of tabi'een. Any of them who has come to attend the Hajj, bring them, invite them in Mina to my camp. A large camp was set up, to accommodate like 1,000 people, like the best of the best. Those who basically spoke opinion makers, those who spoke to the people, represented Islam, Islamic thought, those who were the muhaddithin, qurra of Quran, mufassirin of Quran, anyone who spoke for Islam, attending Hajj this year, Imam Hussain invited him. Imam Hussein's famous speech that year. And he speaks about, he said, you have seen what this taghiya, this arrogant, oppressive ruler has done to our Shia. Shia in Arabic means our followers, people who have love for the family of Holy Prophet, Shia of Ahlul Bayt, for you. The word Shia can be technically used for anything. Shia of Abu Sufyan, Shia of Usman, Shia of whatever. But Shia, Imam was taken Shi'atuna, our Shia. How they have been subjected to torture and exile and death and all of that. You've seen what they did. So I fear, Imam Hussain said, I fear that this haqq will become mundaris. The truth will be lost for the future generations. I fear that this haqq of Ali ibn Abi Talib, we need to say, this haqq, the message of walayat, will be lost upon the following generations. So I will share with you some points. If I am saying the truth, show your agreement to what I have to say. And if you see that I am lying to you, then say that I am lying to you. Meaning to say that don't keep quiet. Say something. And Imam Hussain started reminding them of things the Holy Prophet said about. And then Imam Hussain also said, and you go back to if you agree, in case you agree with what I have to say, then go back to your towns and cities and villages and convey this message to the people. Right? And then, Imam Hussain starts mentioning the fadail of Imam Ali. Don't you know that the Prophet said that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the brother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Out of all the companions, Rasulullah chose Ali ibn Abi Talib as his brother. They said, yes, we know that. Do you know, don't you agree, هل تعلمون أن رسول الله اشترى موضع مسجده ومنازله فابتناه? Do you know that the Holy Prophet, when he moved to Yathrib, which became Medina, he bought a piece of land there with his own money? And then in that land he constructed the masjid, and around the masjid, the sahan of the masjid, he constructed 10 homes, 10 rooms, right? And for himself and for his wives. And at the center of all these hujurat was the hujra that belonged to Ali and Fatima alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So basically the room was for Ali. Later on, Janab Imam Ali got married to Janab Sayyida, so they lived there. Mawdi' masjid به 10 منازل 9 له وجعل عاشرها في وسطها لأبي. That the 10th room or house or hujra he made for my father Ali ibn Abi Talib في وسطها لأبي ثم سد كل باب شارع للمسجد. Then he announced one day that these houses that are built around the sahan of the masjid, right? Their doors were all opening into the sahan of the masjid. The Prophet one day he announced that all these doors be closed, right? Except غَيْرَ بَابِهِ, except the door of the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Please say salam. فَتَكَلَّمَ فِي ذَلِكَ مَنْ. People started whispering and gossiping and talking about why Rasulullah is favoring Ali and why is he allowing Ali's door to still be open into the masjid but not the other homes. And you can imagine who was spreading these words. Those actually whose homes, somebody in their home was residing there, has some sort of connection there, out of jealousy, right? So the Holy Prophet, one of the best things that happened on that occasion was Rasulullah came on the minbar and said to the people, gathered everyone and said, Ma ana sadattu abwabakum wa fatahtu babahu. It was not me who closed your doors and opened the door of Ali. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَنِي بِسَدِّ أَبْوَابِكُمْ وَفَتَحْتُ بَابَهُ. Please say the salawat. So, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who ordered me to close all the doors and keep the door of Ali open. And another occasion, and in the same chapter of reports in history, we find that the guy who became the second Khalifa, I use the word mutakhallif, but let's say is the Khalifa for sake of use, that came to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, you left the door of Ali open, but you closed all the other doors. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah had ordered me to construct a pure house. That's the best thing ever. Pure house. Any door other than the door of Ali, if opening in the masjid, will make this masjid impure. That means only the whole existence of Ali, from his hair down to the toes, right, are the asma of Jalal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are the noor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the wujud of Ali ibn Abi Talib brings nuraniyat to the masjid. Masjid is masjid because of wujud of Rasulullah and Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Recite a salawat. What is Imam Hussain alayhi salam doing? And he goes on like 30 or 40 such fazail. And then he says, you know all these things, you agree with me? Do you know how Allah reprimands in the Holy Quran the Jewish scholars, the rabbis? You know, because they were keeping quiet when there were changes being made to Shariat of Musa alayhi salam. When the oppressive rulers were killing the innocent people, they were keeping quiet and not saying a word. So Imam Hussain, is beautiful khutbah. I would encourage you to read it. Imam Hussain is saying, you enjoy the privilege of being the alim of Islam because you say that I am a waris of Rasulullah because I have learned Shariat and I am preaching, so I represent the deen of Rasulullah, and enjoying all the respect among the people because of Rasulullah. But the sunnah of Rasulullah and the teaching of Rasulullah being destroyed every night and day. And you don't want to spend from any of your privilege and prestige and honor and respect that you have in the society to save the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look how dishonest you are. It is because of you that all his blood is being spilled. All the innocent that are being killed is because of your silence. It is because of your silence on these members and pulpits all over the Islamic world, right, that people like Muawiyah are in power. And all the wulat and all the governors and mayors and so those times, you know, in all these places, Egypt, Iraq, Central Asia, all the way in Africa, Islam had gone all the way up to Europe, everywhere. And South Asia and everywhere. You know, all these rulers who are basically corrupt and oppressive criminals, they are in power because they enjoy their status because you are not speaking up. And they are stealing from public wealth. So people are not allowed any freedom, not allowed any say in their own future, in how their own resources are supposed to be used against their interests. And so Imam Hussain al-Islam is saying that all the culture and tahzeeb and civilization that my grandfather Rasul Akram brought, introduced, removed the signs of Jahiliyyat, right? For them, Islam said, you know what they were doing. In the Khilafat of Maulana Ali, one of the wives of Rasulullah comes out leading an army against Imam Ali alayhi salam, in violation of the clear instructions of Holy Quran, وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى وَقَرْنَا فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Stay in the house. O wife of Rasulullah, must stay in the house. On one occasion, the second Khalifa was going to Hajj, he requested all the wives of Holy Prophet, this is after the demise of Rasulullah. He asked all the wives of the Holy Prophet to accompany the caravan of Hajj. Some of them went along, some of them did not. Salma refused. She said, I've heard the Holy Prophet Islam say that whoever after my death, right, will follow my way and not come out in public will be with me in paradise. For me, being the wife of Rasulullah is more important than anything else. This culture of haya, modesty, all these limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it creates a civilization. The form of government, the form of education, family system, right? Our observance of different social, customs, these are all things. What you wear, how you, even the happy times we enjoy. Our Muslim culture is different from non-Muslim culture. Especially the Shia culture is very different from other cultures. And today's world, you see, when Muharram comes, the whole world is watching. And this message of Imam Hussain should be spread. Every single person should promote the teachings of Imam Hussain. What happened in Karbala? This is something we should promote and invite people to come and witness. See what happens in Karbala. Our culture, many of you, I guess, have gone to Hajj. How many of you have been to Hajj? And show of hands? MashaAllah. Not many young people, I guess. Inshallah, you go and see. We pray, inshallah. Hajj gets better, comes back to the way it should have been, the way it should be, the simplicity of Hajj, the spirituality of Hajj. But a lot has happened in recent years. But when you go for Arba'een to the Azadari, Arba'een, Mashi of Arba'een, and how the Zubar of Imam Hussain come from all over the world, you will see something different, totally different. Where is that coming from? It's coming from the heart of Islam. Coming from the fact that Imam Hussain gave his water to the forces of enemy when they were thirsty. Right? Imam Hussein's character is coming from the teaching of Sayyid al-Shuhada. If you connect yourself with Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he will save you, just as he saved Hur. Imam Hussein's spirituality, Imam Hussein's, his nature is like that. Masalo ahl bayti ka safinat Nuh. The example of my family is like the Ark of Noah. Man rakibaha naja, man takhallafa anha ghariqa wa hawa. Whoever gets on this ship, Inna al-Husayn safinatul najat. Misbahul huda wa safinatul jad. Husayn alayhi salatu wassalam is the light of guidance and the ark of salvation. This ark of Imam Hussain alayhi salam has space for the whole of humanity. Whoever wants to come and wants to save himself from doom and destruction, misguidance and Jahannam. Shaitan has spread his wings, brought all his forces out, and he's shooting from close range, like Imam Ali alayhi salam said. Shaitan is not sitting in the seventh heaven. Shaitan is right in front of me, shooting at close range. He will not miss his target. Day and night, doesn't take a day off. Busy. And he uses all these means to deceive us. Anything that would distract us from the love of Imam Hussain. Anything to say, okay, you have better things to do, you have this, you have that, all these other things, But the fact is, if you don't have Imam Hussain, you have nothing. If you have Imam Hussain, you have everything. The followers of Ahlul Bayt are the most knowledgeable, most successful in dunya and akhirah. They are the smartest people, they have values, right? They protect honor of people, they don't hurt people, even in revenge. They are careful. See what happened in between all these events that were going on? Everything is coming from the fatwa of a Mujtahid Jami al-Shara'it, who follows the teachings of Muhammad wa ala Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Today we are remembering honor Muhammad, the sons of Zainab al-Kubra. Abdullah ibn Jafar al-Tayyar, he could not join Karbala. He sent and got an aman nama, amnesty from the Wali of Makkah for Imam Hussain, and sent that amnesty letter with his two sons, Honor Muhammad to Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain had already left Makkah. And he had left Makkah from a different direction so that they would not find him easily, because he had gone straight into the direction of Medina, they would have come after him. Imam Hussain received that letter and he prayed for Abdullah ibn Jafar. But he continued his course. On and Muhammad were the sons of Zainab Kubra. They joined Imam Hussain from that point onward. Who is Zainab? Zainab is the sister of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Zainab is a person, since she was born, she could not find any peace unless she would look at Imam Hussain alayhi salam every day. From the time Imam Hussain said to his mother that, "Mother, when I come close to my sister, she starts smiling. When I move away, she starts crying. Why is that?" And he was told that she is like Khadijat al-Kubra in our family. The nature of Khadijat al-Kubra, al-Masakin. And Zainab had made this in her marriage contract, that when my brother leaves for Iraq, I would have the right to go with him. And when the time came, Imam Hussain was leaving, Zainab al-Kubra came to her husband and said, "My brother is leaving. Even if I stay here, I will not survive. I will not stay alive." Abdullah ibn Jafar allowed her to go. She came with Imam Hussain to Makkah. 4 or 5 months they were in Makkah. And then from there, they departed for Iraq. Imam Hussain arrived at Karbala. He was not allowed to continue. And he camped over there. Zainab is with Imam Hussain. Zainab is coming down from her camel. And Bani Hashim surround her. Zainab enjoys a very special place among Ahlul Bayt. In Karbala, after everyone is killed, Zainab was the leader of this caravan. She became the spokesperson for Caravan Ahlul Bayt. It was like Janab Imam Zain al-Abidin had given her, entrusted her with the responsibility to speak for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When all the companions had gone, Janab Ali Akbar was martyred. Right? Honor Muhammad were feeling the pain. They said, "Mother, if anything happens to our uncle Hussain, we would not be able to see my mother being taken a prisoner, or we will not be able to see the heads of these shuhada with us. So give us the permission to go and fight and die for Imam Hussain." Zainab, as the history writes, Zainab held their hands, brought her sons to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, herself. And she said in their ears that if your uncle, who will not give his permission, if he resists, then give him the wasita of his mother Fatima Zahra. That we are the grandsons of Fatima Zahra. She was killed when she was young. Zainab al-Kubra asked Imam Hussain alayhi salam cried that maybe your husband Abdullah is not razi. She said Abdullah ibn Jafar has given his permission and sent that if time comes, this situation develops, that my sons will die in his place. Honor Muhammad, Amiri Hussain wa ni'mal Amir. My master is Hussain. What a great master I have. Honor Muhammad, very young, they recited rajas in the battlefield, denounced the rule of Yazid, and they fought. And the Ravi, the narrators from the other side, the enemy, they said, "Look at the love of this sister for her brother. Her sons are so young. She's giving this sacrifice for her brother. This is the love of the painful thing is that Honor Muhammad are killed. Every mother would come out when her children were killed. Zainab al-Kubra herself came out of camp number of times when someone from Bani Hashim was killed. When Ali al-Akbar was killed, Zainab al-Kubra came running all the way up to the body of Ali al-Akbar. But when Honor Muhammad are killed, Zainab stayed inside the tent. She did not leave. She was crying inside her tent because she did not want to come in the face of Imam Hussain, and Imam Hussain would feel sorry for her. or feel bad why he let her sons die. When the bodies of Honorable Muhammad were brought right next to the camp of Zainab Kubra, Zainab silently came out, cleared the ground between these two corpses. She put her forehead down on the ground and said, Rabbana taqabbal minna. Oh Allah, accept this sacrifice for Zainab bint Ali. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi. Oh Allah, accept our ibadat. Oh Allah, make the zuhur of Imam Zaman. Oh Allah, give us tawfiq of ziyarat of Karbala. Oh Allah, make all our young people come close to Imam Hussain, experience his devotion and increase their ma'rifat of Ahlul Bayt, increase their knowledge of Quran and follow the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin.
I'll show you.